Hey guys, here's your video for tonight. So last night I did a live stream session and some people in the audience asked me if I've heard of contrapoints and if I watch contrapoints. I said, who's contrapoints? I've never heard of this. And it turned out to be somebody from the old school days of YouTube atheism, Nicotine 2. So I definitely remember Nicotine 2. Um, I never had a whole lot of interaction with this guy back in the day. I don't think he liked me very much. And that's because I kind of had a beef with his girlfriend. We'll get into that in a minute. But you know what's strange to me is how much Nicotine 2 seems to have changed over the years. And I know I'm one to talk now that I'm like this anti-Semitic Orthodox Christian now. Man, people have changed since the old school days of YouTube atheism, haven't they? But here, check out Nicotine 2 from back in the day.
Okay, this is the first video I've ever done on the subject of free will and determinism, which is sort of amazing considering I have been thinking about the subject for quite a long time. But in the past, I haven't been quite sure what exactly I thought, and it's only.
Okay, that's all. I just want you to see his speech patterns, how he dresses, how he presents himself, blah, 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 blah. Here's another one.
Hey YouTube. So yesterday I woke up to a vote bot attack, and today I woke up to find that one of my videos has been flagged and removed, and I have a strike against my account. So, needless to say, I'm not real thrilled with YouTube right now.
Yeah, that's enough. So anyway, the girlfriend thing. Yeah, what I mostly know Nicotine 2 for is the fact that he was dating fact versus religion. And man, I went back and forth with fact versus religion a little bit. I didn't like fact versus religion. Um, the reason I didn't like her is because I kind of saw her as like this bully. Like she was kind of like a mean girl, a mean high school girl of the YouTube atheism community, kind of nerd shaming all the other atheists and like, I'm so much cooler and more beautiful than you are. Um, a lot of you probably remember the single cringiest moment in YouTube atheism history, and I'm not talking about my sex tape scandal with Captain Awesome. I'm talking about this. Yeah, that shit happened. Um, so, well, Nicotine 2 is back, and at some point he seems to have transformed into a flamboyant gay man. I really don't know how or when that occurred. Um, and the point of this video that I'm making right now is not to hate on ContraPoints. So the truth is, I've been watching quite a few of his videos, and I enjoy them. I think they're funny, they're intelligent, and they're pretty damn good. Um, but I don't agree with the stuff that he's saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and respond to a little bit of it. I don't expect ContraPoints to answer my low rent fucking videos. He's probably just gonna ignore this. That's cool, whatever. But it just seems like since he started doing this ContraPoints thing, he's just cutting through all the fucking all the MRA alt right personalities on YouTube like a knife. And nobody is really standing up to this or saying anything back. And the reason is it's like this Milo Yiannopoulos effect. It's like who can stand up in front of the withering criticisms of a catty gay man? And nobody wants to say anything negative to somebody like that because they're just kind of they have this protected status. It's like don't you dare be a gay basher or whatever. Well, I'm not going to do any gay bashing in this video, but I do disagree with a lot of the stuff that ContraPoints is saying. He's presenting himself now as a what's the term, social justice feminist, right? Maybe he always did. I guess he probably always did. I mean that would make sense with the whole fact versus religion relationship thing. But I'm just going to respond to some of the stuff he's been saying.
I'm a social justice feminist.
Well, look, I'll say two things. First, people have this idea that feminism means that men can't be men and sex is over and it's going to be like the matriarchal version of The Handmaid's Tale. But no, that's not what it is. I mean, there's maybe like 1 or 0.1% of feminists who think all sex is rape and men are pigs and all that stupid shit. But those women are sad and pathetic and no one listens to them.
Okay, let me cut it off right here. He made a video about feminism, and I'm not going to show that one. But it's on his list. And, he says people are going to accuse me of making a no true feminist fallacy, like a no true Scotsman fallacy. In other words, when you point out the shitty things that feminists do, those are just the bad ones. That's just this 1% that he's talking about right here. Well, this is the first thing I take issue with here, that, the idea that shitty feminists are only 1%. I don't know about that. I think it's more like the ones who actually believe in social equality between the genders. Those are the 1%. And the shitty ones are like kind of more like the 99%. Let's go on.
Them. Really, the sexual requirements of feminism are very minimal. Don't rape people, don't harass them, don't abuse them, don't shout at them in the streets. It's really just not that hard. Second, for your sake, stop
Okay, so let's remember what he said there. The requirements of feminism are just like don't abuse people, don't shout at people in the streets, and don't be a prick. Keep that in mind, guys. It's going to become important later. So now, like one of the things he says is, you're afraid that feminism is going to be the end of sex and it's going to be the end of masculinity. Well, what could give people that idea? Let's find out. Here's his video about alpha males.
Desperate and you don't know how to express it because you were raised in an atmosphere of toxic masculinity that emotionally stifles men and taught you that.
There it is, toxic masculinity. Man, this is just one of these fucking things. I picture somebody with a hard hat and a clipboard in their hand standing next to like a bunch of meters and gauges. Like, sir, we're approaching levels of toxic masculinity. My God. Get the hazmat suits. Commence evacuation. Like, what the fuck is this concept of toxic masculinity? What is this? When does my gender become toxic? Okay, is there such a thing as toxic femininity? Is that a thing? Because when I watch like The View or The Talk or something like that, I feel like I'm being exposed to toxic levels of femininity. But is that a thing? Do feminists even acknowledge such a thing as toxic femininity? So why? I mean, like you're saying feminism isn't the end of sex. It's not about hating on men. But here you are talking about masculinity being toxic. And this alpha males video, by the way, is all about ridiculing masculinity. He kind of makes fun of the golden one for like flexing and showing his muscles off, like that's the most ridiculous thing in the world, and it's just so silly, and what a laughable fellow for doing that. But God forbid we like ridicule Lacey Green for angling the webcam down at her boobs when she makes a fucking video. So it's so absurd to flex your muscles. Like what? Why? What's so wrong with alpha males? Contrapoints. What's so wrong with masculinity? Why is it toxic? And you wonder why people don't trust feminists. But now let's move on. So here's his video, criticism or bullying, and he talks about this idea that YouTube is a safe space for MRAs and alt-right types.
Say that trans people and feminists need safe spaces because they're crybabies who can't handle criticism. But when you look at how terribly they're actually treated in free speech zones, the safe space thing starts to make sense. And besides, you all have your own version of safe spaces anyway. In this case, the complete circle jerk that is the comments section of anti-SJW videos. I mean, just look at the difference between the ratings of SJW and anti-SJW videos. Which group of people was in a fucking safe space? Now, I should say that there are some masochists like me who actively enjoy pain.
Oh man, my video sucks so much. Stop. Pause. Pause. Okay. Yeah, my computer sucks. Pause. Pause, fucker. Man, that's a crazy lag. I'm just gonna have to close this. Hopefully it'll stop. There we go. Man, I can't wait till I do some eBay and I can finally get some good production values. Okay, so like he's saying, YouTube is a safe space. YouTube is a safe space for MRAs. It's a safe space for the alt-right. Okay, fine. But look, here's the counterpoint, contrapoint. Okay? American society is the safe space for feminists and SJWs, okay? You guys have the world, and we have a website. That's it. And so a while back, when I did my whole Fluffy Kitness thing, I went from having this channel called The Smooth Terrorist, and then I changed it to The Fluffy Kitness. It was tongue-in-cheek. It was meant to be a joke. I was making a point. The point was, you know, I looked at my Google Analytics, and I found out that there were no women watching my shit. Like, the percentage of women watching my shit was like 2%, 3%, something like that. 3% of my audience. Something really, really low. And I'm kind of scratching my head, like, am I this abhorrent to women? Well, you know, I mean, I probably am, but that's besides the point. Because I did some research about the difference between male and female internet habits, and I found out some interesting things. And what I basically found out is that YouTube is a male-dominated website. This comes down to something called cyber balkanization. And cyber balkanization is the principle through which, you know, all these identity politics groups are kind of carving out safe spaces for themselves on the web. This is happening everywhere. So let's look at this chart right here. Actually, before we get to the chart, let's read this little sentence right here. Pinterest, not surprisingly, has a more female-centric user base, with 33% of female internet population using it, compared to 8% of men. But the tables turn with Reddit, YouTube, and music-based social networking sites, in which men are found to be the savviest networkers. So here's this little chart right here, and we see there's Facebook right here. Now, by the way, it's the dark blue that represents men, and it's the light blue that represents women. And if you look at Facebook here compared to YouTube, what you see is they're both roughly half and half, right? They're both roughly half and half. And that's what we should expect, because with websites this huge, you're not going to find a really big gender disparity. I made a word that doesn't exist. Disparity? Whatever. I can't fucking pause and do it again because my video quality sucks. Anyway, but look at this though. So you'll see on Facebook, it's mostly women, right? So you can barely tell, but here's the line right here. So you know, so let's say it's like 55% to fucking 45%, right? Does the math add up on that? Man, am I embarrassing myself right now? I don't even fucking know. I suck so bad at math. But anyway, like you could say, there's a difference that, you know, the women are slightly edging out the men. The ladies are slightly edging out the guys, right? Then you come over to YouTube, and it's the opposite. Although the disparity isn't quite that big, right? So it's more like maybe look at this line right here, maybe 52% male. So like the guys are just slightly edging out the ladies on YouTube. But here's the thing though, anybody who follows electoral politics knows a few percentage points can make a big damn difference. But let's get to this question here, which is, do men deserve a safe space? Well, let's see what MRA sweetheart Karen Strown has to say about that subject.
This actually happened to my eldest son, who's in grade 8. He was in the schoolyard playing. A grade 1 girl walked up to him, slapped him across the head, and said, "You are not allowed to hit girls. You cannot hit me back." Mm-hmm. I'd like to...
Well, at least she was being honest. You know, and an adult woman who would do that would probably find a way to turn herself into the victim.
Women deserve a safe space on campus. Queer people deserve a safe space on campus. Trans people deserve a safe space on campus. You mean enough? Why do men need a safe space on campus?
Why do men need a safe space? Because the very idea of...
Okay, so you hear what this this stereotypical feminist in the audience says, and I love that she's even like wearing a beret and the fucking, you know, plastic emo glasses and shit. I mean, damn, like these people. Anyway, so fucking she basically says like everybody deserves rights, but those evil white men, right? So the trans people deserve a safe space, and the women deserve a safe space, and the minorities deserve a space. Everybody gets something but you. Everybody gets something but you. You guys are the ones that don't get something. Well, here's what Karen Strown has to say.
Of an event where men are talking about men's issues in a non-sanctioned manner, then you have what happened at the Warren Farrell protest. I don't know if you watched the footage of that, right? But if I were one of the men who was trying to attend an event talking about male suicide and all kinds of other stuff, and I had some woman who knows she can get away with it up in my face, calling me every name in the book, screaming at me, I don't think I'd feel very safe, right? Okay? And frankly, men are the majority of victims.
Okay, my bad. She's not wearing a beret. She's wearing one of those Rasta hats, even though she doesn't have fucking dreadlocks. Anyway, whatever.
Of public sphere violence.
I'm not saying that any of those statistics or male suicide, any of that stuff exists, because it does. Men are the victims of more workplace violence, workplace like suicides, low enrollment rates.
But by the way, you know, little side tangent here, little side tangent. So ContraPoints also has a video about cultural appropriation. He says cultural appropriation is horrible. It's such a bad thing to do, unless you're a white person with dreadlocks, because he used to be a white person with dreadlocks. But have you ever noticed that the people bitching about cultural appropriation the most are the ones doing it? Because it's always SJWs bitching about cultural appropriation, and like, here's this feminist wearing a fucking Rasta hat. Anyway, though, like, here we go.
That said, that's not systematic oppression in society.
Really? I think that when a 6-year-old girl can hit another child and get away with it and never ever have to suffer retaliation because he's a boy, okay? I think that's systematic. How? Because if the system intervenes and punishes the boy for hitting back, right? It's systematic.
Oh, Karen Strown, we all love you so much, man. I would eat this chick's pussy for hours and hours and hours. I know it's not appropriate to say that, but like, don't we all kind of feel that way about Karen Strown, though? Don't we all kind of? I mean, wouldn't you just like rub her feet and fucking like give her like a back massage with like the scented oils and shit for just hours and hours? I mean, like, she's great. We all love Karen Strown. Anyway, though, so what's this Warren Farrell protest that she's talking about? I say talking about because this took place at the University of Toronto. Well, let's watch this video. In fact, we might go ahead and watch the whole damn thing, because I want to make the point that you know, this 1% of bad apple feminists that ContraPoints was talking about, we're about to see how big this 1% is in this upcoming video. And also remember that ContraPoints also said, you know, feminism isn't about denigrating masculinity. It's not about the end of normal sexual relations. It's just about, you know, not acting like an asshole and not shouting at people in the street. That's what he said, right? Don't be an asshole. Don't shout at people in the street. Well, here's the 1% of feminists, right?
The local has endorsed this rally and has endorsed certainly and will join the U of T coalition against sexism. In terms of the unpaid work, I mean, we're not even talking about the unpaid work that women do in society, childcare.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say it. Feminists are so fucking unattractive.
Women hold up half the sky. Women hold up half the sky. Women hold up half the sky. Warren Farrell. Fuck Warren Farrell. Fuck Warren Farrell.
Oh yeah, and by the way, like, go back a little bit. Here's another white guy with dread. Here's another cultural appropriation white guy with dreadlocks amongst the feminists here. By the way, so so that's you, nicotine too. There you are. Yeah, there's a lot of you guys out there.
And like these so-called men's rights groups are actually hate groups.
And there's the blue-haired feminist. so in a ContraPoints video about feminism, his feminism video, he says, "Well, sure, you know, it's not. You don't have to look very far to find some angry blue-haired feminist saying fuck all men and stuff like that." Well, yeah, you don't have to look far, and this proves the point that it's not just 1% that are bad apples. Okay, it's most of them. It's 99% of feminism is this third-wave angry feminist garbage that's essentially misandry. So you can see what's going on is the protesters are blocking the doors so nobody can get in to hear this guy speak, right? And you always see right-wing groups doing this when there's some left-oriented lecture going on at a university, right? You always see the right trying to shut down free speech, don't you?
Right now, there's a temporary delay.
Who's the Nazis though? Who's the book burners?
He called date rape exciting, which is just horrible and misogynistic. There's nothing exciting or fun about rape. Rape is horrible, and we don't tolerate that sort of thought at UT.
We don't tolerate that sort of thought. We don't tolerate your thought.
We're not super interested in talking to you, first of all, but basically we're here to shut down...
It's you, ContraPoints. It's the mangina. There he is. I guess he doesn't have dreads. My bad. I fucked up. He just hasn't washed his hair in a long time.
You're doing it really well. Good job.
By the way, like, can you see how fucking pissed the cops are right here? I just want to point this out. Look at the look, the expression on the face of this cop. Like, he wants to stop doing his job and go in and watch this fucking lecture his damn self. Look at his face. He's miserable. He fucking hates this.
Very frustrated. I was studying all today, and I took time out of my studies to come here.
Would you like to ask him why he's here?
I'm not sufficiently convinced that I'll receive an answer that isn't what I presented.
Two of my friends committed suicide, and I want the peace of understanding why that happened.
Wow. When did this happen?
It happened about 2 years ago. It was one after the other like that.
Did you expect to get some...
Yeah, so what he's essentially talking about, male suicide rates are going up. They were already, disproportionately higher than female suicide rates. They always have been, because it sucks being a guy. I mean, you live a short, brutal existence that's defined by competition with other men in order to vie for the affections of some fucking woman that gets to be treated like a princess her whole life. So when people cotton on to that fact, I think the statistic, which I learned from Karen Stroud, by the way, I love Karen Stroud, is that at the age at which gender roles become apparent, the suicide rate increases sixfold for male children over females. But so it's only increasing. The rate is increasing, and does anybody wonder why? I mean, if you're a cisgendered white male, right, like you just get told constantly that you're a Nazi and you're evil, so people are offing themselves. Our social prospects are only getting worse. You basically stand no chance of parenthood in here goes the dreaded term Western society, right? Like, if you fucking knock a chick up, she's gonna take the kids away. You're gonna go to court and you're gonna lose your rights, and that's how it is. And if you if you marry a chick, like, she's gonna divorce you and take half your shit. And this is the reality that men face. So guys are fucking off in themselves, right? And that's what he's talking about right here.
Asking of the suicide issue at the talk here?
Yes, I did.
What I have to ask on that, and I'll ask you, is why this space to talk about that? Like feminism, for example, offers lots of spaces to talk about mental health issues, talk about depression, both in men and women.
So fucking attractive, these feminists. All of them, every one of them.
Everybody's voice should be heard. I wondered why the security was trying to keep me back, and
Just a bunch of winners in the SJW crowd. This is what men's rights look like. The violence of the police state. Never mind the fact that you tried to ride a fucking bike into a line of cops, right? Whatever.
This is what men's rights look like. This is what men's rights look like. Fuck you. They're fucking pigs. How do you sleep at night, man?
How do you sleep at night, man? Fuckers. And then she runs out of intellectual steam. That's it. I want to watch that again. Hold on. That was fucking great. Because this is the average intelligence of these people.
How do you sleep at night, man?
It's like you think she's going to say something else or make some point. And then she just she puts the mask back over her face and runs out of fucking steam. It's like watching Ricky have a train wreck on the Trailer Park Boys.
It is.
I've never heard of him before. I don't even know what he's talking. I've never heard of him before.
We invite you to educate
I just
yourself.
so I just wanted to listen to him. I just wanted to see who this guy is and what he's talking about. But now I can't get in.
You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. You're fucking scum. You are fucking scum.
Just don't be an asshole. Don't shout at people in public. That's all feminism demands. According to ContraPoints.
Fucking scum. Yeah, just another.
I just want to listen to someone else on a side here. I just listen to as many people as I can.
You know what?
I'm not even on a side here, but do you notice how fucking reasonable the people that are there to watch this lecture are being? Like, they're just taking this fucking abuse and letting it roll off their backs. It's like watching Gandhi, and this is fucking unbelievable. And like these fucking feminist protesters are doing everything but literally beating people with sticks. Like, they're going just up to that line and stopping short. It's fucking unbelievable, right? But this is your this is what you say though, ContraPoints, right? Like all feminism demands is just don't act like an asshole, don't shout at people in the street, and the 1% of the feminists that say all men are evil and stuff, that's just 1%. It's just this small little vocal minority. I see a lot of fucking protesters here acting like assholes, ContraPoints, a lot. Where's the reasonable feminists, okay? Where's the 99% that supposedly exists that actually want genuine social equality? Where are they at? Where are they hiding?
Though, why would you pay money to fucking support a fucking rape apologist if you weren't fucking one? Well, it's fucking scum.
You have a ticket?
Yeah, you should be fucking proud of yourself. These are the fucking.
All right, we've seen enough. I'm gonna wrap this one up. So ContraPoints. Here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say, man. Again, I don't have anything against you. It's not like a ponage video right here or anything like that. I actually enjoy the content you've been making. You know, unlike most of the SJWs on YouTube, at least you have a sense of humor, and that's a rare and refreshing treat right there. At least you're not just like a Lacey Green, just bitching and seeming all butthurt and angry. At least you're cracking fucking jokes, you know, and I like that. It's refreshing to see an SJW with a sense of humor. But there still is this undercurrent of anger in your videos, and here's the thing. You know, if you remember me at all from back in the old school YouTube atheism days, you remember that I've got this contrarian personality. I like to swim against the current, right? So, you know, even though I was an atheist myself, the mob mentality within the atheism community kind of rubbed me the wrong way, to the point So where I actually started defending the Christians on YouTube, defending the fucking religious people, just because it bugged me to just to see this hug box that you talk about, this safe space, this echo chamber. You know, nobody likes that. It's unseemly. It just doesn't it doesn't look good. It rubs you the wrong way when you see something like that. But here's the thing, though. You know, I'm not doing the same thing these days. Now that alt-right and MRA are all the rage, and that's the big trend. That's what's cool on YouTube is being red-pilled, right? And you don't really see me fighting the tide too much on that one, trying to swim against that current. Why? Because this is fucking necessary. This needs to happen. Because like you said, YouTube really is just a safe space. That's all it is. But once we turn the computer off and go outside, you know, it's back to being bashed and called a Nazi for being a cisgendered white male. And that's the direction that society is still going in. You know, yeah, YouTube is a fucking safe space for MRAs and alt-right types. Yeah, it is. But this is all we get. This is all we fucking have. It's a tiny little safe space, and that's it. Out on the streets, we're still getting treated like shit. And it's just gone too far. And fucking third wave feminism is a monstrosity, man. It's like you can't defend this adequately. No matter how funny your videos are, no matter how good you look in a golden Speedo, and you really do, man. I mean, like, you look great. But it's not gonna fly. It's not gonna work. You're not gonna turn the tide. You know, guys like fucking Atheism is Unstoppable and TJ and Sargon of Akkad, they're going to continue to get high ratings on their videos, and you're going to continue to get a lot of thumbs down. And that's not a bad thing. It's with very good cause. So that's all I wanted to say. That's about all. Keep it fake.